Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lords of the Night. With me, as always, is Ranting Monkey, the Lord of Pain.
Hey, guys.
And joining us tonight as our special guest is Based Mama, the Lord of Babies.
Lady of Babies, no Lord.
And I am your host, Scribelight, Lord of Ridiculous Advertisements.
Indeed.
So welcome to Based Mama. Tonight is Thursday night. This is our guest night weekly, and Mama is our guest tonight. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Sorry that as soon as you went live, the baby started crying.
Of course. Well, you're Lord of Babies. For those curious, SDA is not here tonight. She's taking the night off to, I presume, have fun without us somewhere.
Well, she's taking a couple of nights off, so she probably won't be here tomorrow either.
Right. So it might just be the Scribe and Money show tomorrow night, but we'll see what happens. Before that, do we have anything we want to talk about before we get into the snooze? Well, it would be Monkey, except Monkey can't spell monkey on a consistent basis, so oftentimes he would title the stream Scribe and Money.
I did it twice completely on accident, and then it just became a thing.
Yeah, twice isn't an accident. That's just being illiterate.
Well, fuck you. But yeah, true.
Yeah. Well. So before we begin with the usual routine of going to the schnooze, before the stream began, a very generous donation came in from one of our regular viewers, and he requested a special ad. The special ad he asked was for an ad about my channel. So I have attempted to write an ad about myself after a fashion. So I'll get that out of the way now on behalf of our donation. This broadcast is brought to you by Point Curation. Point Curation has asked that I say a few words about, well, myself. Scribelight is a channel which means to promote critical thinking, especially applied to those persons and institutions that would comport themselves to be the authorities and the experts on how the rest of us are to think and live out our lives. The hope is, whether you agree or disagree with him, you will at least be inspired by his picking apart of an argument that you, too, will become as woke as fuck as he is. Scribelight. He sounds like Kermit.
Well done. Kermit's older brother.
Kermit's older brother. So again, thank you, Point Curation. Thank you for the not triggering snapping clapping, because clapping will just like set off my PTSD.
Indeed. That's why I snapped for you.
I appreciate that. It's so very like beatnik, isn't it?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sad that word isn't used much anymore because hipsters are just the new beatniks.
We should find a way to bring. There's got to be a neo way of saying something nick, that it's not a beatnik but a something nick that we can call like ourselves. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure the chat will come up with some ideas, but. In the meantime, for like the 7th day in a row, we haven't had any gigantic disasters. No terrorist attacks, no grand, horrible things happening on a massive scale. I'm getting kind of nervous.
North Korea is not threatening to blow shit up.
I was going to say no North Korea launches or anything. I mean, it's a bit too quiet, as they say.
Indeed.
But what we have plenty of is Trump.
Yay!
Now, we've covered the non-story of the emails for the last couple of days.
Yes.
There has been nothing new on that front today. So there's nothing really more to be said as far as I know. Based Mama, however, has a very interesting theory regarding the events surrounding the emails.
Look, it is not a theory. All I said
it's not a
is
theory.
Not a conspiracy theory.
Okay, all right.
Wait. Yeah. That's for YouTube time.
Yeah, so we'll get to YouTube time. Around YouTube time is when we talk about our
riled up again.
I gotta get her riled up now. You know, it's all about the foreplay.
Oh,
all right.
Yes.
So what we do have is the headline of CNN's that caught my attention because it just sounds. I just love bringing up CNN's like the epitome of journalistic excellence.
Yeah, journalistic.
And so this is. Yeah, this was one of their headlines on their front page as of like 10 minutes ago. And this is where they're at, everyone. President Trump spoke with reporters for an hour, but it was off the record. or was it? And I'm not kidding. It's ... or was it?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I have no idea what this story's about. I'm going to give it 2 paragraphs to see if it's even worth going forward with. But
Great headline, though.
I couldn't help but relay the headline to the audience to let them know that CNN is still on the case. President Trump often complains that the news media overlooks positive stories about his administration. But when Trump asked a reporter on Thursday why she didn't quote from a conversation he'd had on board Air Force One, the answer was simple. The White House said it was off the record. The confusion arose as Trump arrived in Paris to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron. On the flight across the Atlantic, the president had spoken with traveling reporters for more than an hour. After arriving in France, the New York Times' Maggie Haberman, a designated White House pool reporter for the day, chronicled a peculiar exchange she had with Trump. Quote, POTUS asked your pooler why she didn't use what he had said last night, Haberman wrote in a pool report. Your pooler reminded him last night was off the record. POTUS asked if I had heard him say it could be on record. Your pooler replied truthfully no, she added. That is the story. Anything else I read after that is just a bunch of BS. It's like, that's the story. The president got confused for a second. And this made front page. This is CNN front page news.
Of course it is, because there's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sad thing is this could be CNN front page news, even if there was a bigger story to talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
that's probably because CNN doesn't want to talk about their own dirty.
Wouldn't you love to see that?
With their al-Nusra cameraman and scout in Syria. Yeah, they probably want to get a lot of distraction. Anything but that today.
Yeah, this is just, Trump's in Paris, and Trump is no longer listening to his friend Jim. Like, who cares? CNN, I swear to God, I mean, everybody from Gawker or something got absorbed into CNN, and this is where we're at. And I've said it before. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think CNN will turn it around? I mean, because they seem like they are hell bent on this course. But as an adult, as I watch this, I think somebody's got to step in there and go, okay, we need to fix this because we're just a laughing stock now.
Well, at the direction they're going, I can only assume something has to inevitably happen in the realm of they pull a Dan Rather. They put a story out there that they cannot just walk back by firing their reporters. The shareholders of CNN see the reputation of this institution, so to speak, turn into just another BuzzFeed or something. And there's a meeting, there's a cleaning of house, and some hatchet man's brought in to reform things. And then there'll be about 5 years, or maybe less, depending on the news cycles, of rebuilding, where they'll be crap until they can re-earn their legitimacy somehow. It'll be some big story, some big news story where CNN will actually do a good job again. It'll be like a Gulf War II kind of deal. That's the life cycle I see happening.
I just don't see a story that big, and granted, the thing about those stories is you don't see them coming, but
right.
I just don't see a story that big that they could latch onto that'll give them the legitimacy when there are so many other sources now. It's not like when they with the first Gulf War, they were the only game in town.
True.
And I mean, I guess I can kind of see it with CBS, but at least what CBS did was they're like, okay, stop the shit and just go back to reporting.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of let it fade away. CNN seems hell bent on making it worse.
Well, the thing is that they have no incentive not to, because it's the clicks get them the money. And as long as that keeps happening, I mean, this is the trap of modern journalism. It's not about having integrity or having the trust of the public. It's about the profit motive of, can we keep pumping up scandal to the point where we keep getting clicks? That's why we get story after story, day after day about Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that, even if it's nothing, on the chance that you'll click on it. I mean, I'm contributing to the problem, but
it's all your fault, Scribe.
Yeah. That's every night. That's me. It's all me.
Okay.
So in the absence of anything else really major going on, and I'm talking like national wide, we will then, I suppose, for the time being, move to Base Mama, what we call Potpourri, where I found a selection of oddly titled headlines, which I will read off to you in summary fashion. As SDA is gone tonight, would you mind being our Vanna White?
Sure. How do I do that?
Okay, so I'm going to read off a little buzz summary of what the story's about, and I'll read them off in order. And then after I've read them all off, you just tell me which ones in what order to relay. Which ones do you find interesting first?
Oh, all right. Well, we'll give it a shot.
Okay. So it's sort of like Jeopardy. I read off the categories, and then you pick which one you like the best. Our first story is Grandma Surrender. Then we have Wendy's Divine Comedy. We have Hawaii, September 11th. And then we have Kermit the Frog.
Is Hawaii, September 11th the same thing?
Yes, if that's one story.
Then I'm automatically interested in that.
Okay. So Hawaii soldier thought U.S. government behind September 11th attacks. A U.S. soldier accused of wanting to commit a mass shooting after pledging loyalty to the Islamic State group believed the moon landing was faked, questioned the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and thought September 11th was an inside job coordinated by the U.S. government, according to a former Army bunkmate. Army Sergeant First Class Ika, I can't even pronounce this, Akaika Kang is scheduled to appear in federal court in Honolulu Thursday for a detention hearing. Quote, Kang's military training, weapons abilities, and personal combat skills, coupled with his strong stated desire to kill people in the name of the Islamic State, makes him one of the most dangerous criminal defendants to have ever been charged in this judicial district, prosecutors wrote in a motion asking that he be held without bail. Except they said, asking that be held without bail. I corrected their writing for them because it's the AP. According to court documents, Kang met with undercover agents he thought were from the Islamic State group at a home in Honolulu, where he pledged allegiance to the group and kissed an Islamic State flag. Kang was arrested immediately to remove the possibility that he would act on his impulse to kill people in the name of the Islamic State. So was it a sting operation? I assume. That's
My
weird.
guess is that someone probably alerted authorities to his drives, and they basically surveilled him and then set him up.
Yeah, that's really weird. Yeah, I heard
it better than Kang.
Well, yeah, I mean,
your chat.
What happened?
It's your chat.
Oh, we was
I love
Kangs?
them. And they're like, Kodos is better than Kang anyway.
Indeed. Indeed it is. It was Kang.
Oh, it was Kodos. Okay, so we are back
There's
to
a true political dichotomy right there.
Kang and Kodos. Yeah.
Yes.
And imagine how many people are listening right now that have absolutely no idea who Kang and Kodos were.
Get out, normies.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So we have Grandma Surrender, Wendy's Divine Comedy, and Kermit the Frog.
I want to go with Kermit the Frog, but I think Wendy's Divine Comedy is gonna be the one.
Okay. Typo in Wendy's restaurant sign is Divine Comedy. And this comes from Florida, but it doesn't really involve a human directly. So we haven't gotten to Florida Man or woman yet. Not yet, but trust me, given our audience's penchant for finding Florida Man stories, we will have plenty of Florida Man tonight. Wendy's customers rarely have anything meatier to contemplate than whether to get a single, a double, or perhaps try the chicken. But those at one of the fast food chain's Palm Beach County, Florida restaurants briefly got to contemplate Wendy's and its immoral acts against God. The Palm Beach Post reports that the restaurant recently installed a sign that read, quote, all of Wendy's sins off one word, fresh. JEE Restaurant Group, the franchise company that operates the location, told the newspaper that the word was supposed to be spins and that the sign will be corrected. So all of Wendy's spins off one word, fresh. That makes even less sense than the sins version.
I don't even know
think
what
they should have
happened.
left it. I think they should have left it. I would have just gone with it.
Yeah. I mean, have a sinfully good burger at Wendy's. What's the problem? Get the Satanists in there.
The problem is a lot of old people who still
No.
believe in God and stuff do that.
No, it's true.
Satanist, the untapped burger market.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. There's gold in them thar horns. Okay.
Speaking of Satanists, may I
Yes.
sidetrack for one moment?
Of course.
Okay, there's a lot of like hubbub about there being a satanic statue, a religious statue or something, and I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't care. But this thing is the ugliest piece of crap you have ever seen. I'm like, oh Jesus, it is awful. It's like, you know, the guy who just put the plunger in the urinal and was like, this is art. It's worse than that.
Is this the one from the story last night?
Is this the Memorial Park for Veterans with the cube and the military helmet on top of it?
I'm not sure. I was just looking at it like, oh, it's Detroit.
Detroit Satan
Yeah.
Monument. Okay, let me see if I can find a.
Yeah,
picture of
like
it.
it's so dumb. Oh no, that's not the one. Okay, I'm trying to find the other one. That it was like just recently.
Let's see, Detroit Satanic Statue.
Yeah, the temple monument, the like weird cube with the helmet on it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It just looks like crappy modern art.
Mm.
I'm like, why would you even bother? Like, I could have done that for you for like $30.
Yeah, no, it's a very simple design given what they're trying to do, but I think it's just it's the name and the attribution to it that's the big point. It's like, well, this is a satanic monument because everybody else gets a monument, so we should too, kind of thing.
They're
Well,
doing
like,
it
I don't
to
care
assholes. They
about
don't care what
it.
it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna post the link.
Okay.
Because it's just a block. It's a block of shit.
A block of
it's not
shit.
letting me. Like, it's just look. I am absolutely an art elitist. Okay, my opinion of art is if I can do it, it isn't art.
Mm-hmm.
And people hate me for that, but that is the truth.
Oh, do you need a wrench to post a link? I don't know if I have
No,
a
I
wrench.
have a wrench. It's just
do?
going
Okay,
200. It's a Washington Post article about
Okay.
Minnesota thing. I can't find it. You'll have to post it later.
Okay, I'll find a picture
with
of it.
209 characters, which means I can't. So I'm like, damn it.
Oh.
But it's just a cube with like inverted stars on it and a military helmet on it because you know it's a military monument. So like whatever, but they spent millions on this thing and it's such garbage.
Okay, I've got a fuzzy picture of it. It's not the best picture, but I'll put it in the chat for people to take a look. I'm sure there must be a better picture out there somewhere, but that's the as far as I know, that is a picture of the item and not a artist rendition like I see elsewhere.
Yeah, let me open it.
Yeah,
but isn't that just so tacky? Oh my God. It's like Seven Seals 70s movie tacky. Like, it's awful. It's kitsch. It's literally kitsch. And it's on a national monument. Please. Sorry, that's my biggest issue with this, is that it looks like shit.
Like, yeah.
If it was prettier.
As I said, it's real life trolling. They don't give a fuck what it looks like.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm with you. It's ugly as fuck, and yeah, they could have spent a little of time on it.
Oh, by the way, chat, I forgot. Monkey Dick, Jim Jones, movies. And if you have not already, by all means, please hit the like button, because that always supposedly helps out with the algorithm, I'm told.
And if not, it doesn't hurt to have those likes. It makes us feel loved.
Yeah, and I need to feel loved. Don't you want me to feel loved? Don't you? So we have remaining Grandma Surrender and Kermit the Frog.
All right, let's do Kermit the Frog.
All right, well, this is it's strange, this headline, given how I did my ad and the reputation I have for my voice, but here we go. Fired voice of Kermit the Frog says he's devastated. So obviously now I have a career opportunity.
Yes, you
in
do.
front of me. New York. It isn't easy being green, but no longer being green is apparently even harder. The puppeteer who was fired after 27 years as Kermit the Frog said Thursday he is, quote, devastated to have failed Muppets founder and his mentor, Jim Henson.
You need to read that last part in his voice.
Oh, dear God. The puppeteer who was fired after 27 years as Kermit the Frog said Thursday he is devastated to have failed Muppets founder and his mentor, Jim Henson.
Very well done.
Not really, but that's the best I can do. Steve Whitmire, who took over as Kermit after Henson's death in 1990, wrote in an emotional blog post that he's leaving against his will and would never consider abandoning Kermit. He says he was told in October that Kermit was being recast, and he kept silent as he tried to address the issues that led to his firing, though neither he nor Muppet Studios have gave reasons. How about have given reasons? Have given reasons for his departure.
You know, Pepe never's had a voice. He can become the voice of Pepe. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Hey, Steve Whitmire, if you happen to be listening to this, or anybody in chat knows Steve Whitmire, I should see if he's got a Twitter or something. Yeah.
We have 2 super chats. Peter, thank you so much. I want you to feel loved, Scribe.
Oh, thank you, Peter. The Peter. And Terry Diamantis, you'll have to fight Jordan Peterson for the job. Yeah. Well, no, apparently they've already found their replacement. The Hollywood Reporter and ABC News reported Wednesday that longtime Muppets performer Matt Vogel will take over as Kermit. I have no idea what Matt Vogel does or how he does Kermit's the Frog. I was always under the impression that Henson's son took over as Kermit's voice, but I guess I was mistaken.
He did for a while.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought that was the deal.
Beyond my Sesame Street, crying over somebody dying on Sesame Street. I remember when Mr. Hooper died. Some old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Hooper was the first person I ever knew who died, and it was really weird.
Oh.
Brian Henson took over for a little while, and then I think they wanted to pass it to Frank Oz, but I don't think that he was a good fit or something like that. It was.
Well, he constantly has to be talking to himself as Miss Piggy, so that's kind of weird.
That would be.
So I'm going to have to find Steve Whitmire, or I'm sure people in the chat have already taken up the mantle. So if you find Steve Whitmire's Twitter, find out if he wants to narrate someone's cartoon of Pepe. That'd be funny. So lastly, we have the sweet story, and this is a Florida woman's story, but it's actually sounds kind of nice, at least by the headline. Grandma convinces escaped inmate to surrender. A Florida grandmother convinced an escaped inmate to surrender after he knocked on her door. Ocala police say 24-year-old Ravante Williams fled a reentry program Wednesday night. Police say he knocked on the woman's door and asked to use the phone. The 63-year-old woman, who was not identified, told police she overheard him asking someone for a ride. She said Williams asked if he could hide in her backyard. She told him no and urged him to surrender. The Ocala Star-Banner reports that when police arrived, Williams put his hands in the air and she walked out with him. She said he was polite and seemed scared. Williams has served time in prison for grand theft, weapons offense, and drug possession. He is scheduled to be released in March. Well, good for her.
Hey.
Yay, Grandma.
Keep your head, man. Wow.
I know. Let's see. So we got Kermit that did that one. Oh, I had one other one that caught my eye. I apologize. That one, I put that in a different tab. I thought this. I wasn't sure if this was funny or bad. So I guess we'll see. Racist Airbnb host fined for refusing Asian.
Oh.
A racist Airbnb host who discriminated against an Asian guest has been fined $5,000 and told she must attend a course on Asian American studies. Tammy Barker canceled Dine Suz Booking, telling her in a message, quote, "One word says it all, Asian," unquote.
Are Asians like known for being messy house guests or
I
something?
have no idea. The fine was imposed due to a new agreement between Airbnb and California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing. It lets the DFEH examine hosts that have had discrimination complaints. Airbnb is a service that allows normal members of the public to rent out spare rooms or entire properties to travelers. Let's see. Miss Barker canceled Miss Sue's booking shortly before the 26-year-old was due to arrive at the location in Big Bear, California. In messages sent via the Airbnb app, Miss Barker said, quote, "I wouldn't rent it to you if you were the last person on earth." Later, she added, "I will not allow this country to be told what to do by foreigners. It's why we have Trump." Jesus. Let's see. And Miss Sue said, "It stings that after living in the U.S. for over 23 years, this is what happens," she says. "No matter how well I treat others, it doesn't matter. If you're if you're Asian, you're less than human. People can treat you like trash."
Holy shit.
What's that?
Does this person think that I don't understand why they have this hatred towards Asians.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I mean, if this Miss Barker lady's like 80 years old and still thinks that Hirohito's making moves against us or something, then maybe. But
there's a little bit of moralizing from the bench. I gotta say, because I don't like this. Like, I don't like if you're convicted of DUI or whatever. They're like, no, you have to go to a 12-step program or whatever. No, how about just go to jail and sober up there, like all the other people? But it's this, saying she has to take a Asian studies course. Like, do you think that's really gonna help?
No, yeah, I'm with you on that part.
That part doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like, okay, Airbnb, Airbnb first and foremost should fire her, I would assume. And if she gets fined because it's a state agreement or whatever, fine. But now you have to go take a course to straighten out your attitude. If you want to be a racist in this country, by all means, be a racist. But the state telling you that you have to learn how to not be a racist, yeah, I don't.
I still think it's gonna work.
No, it's not gonna. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of taxpayer money, and
like who has to pay for this course?
Yeah, well, probably her, I would think.
Yeah, but even then, it's not going to have the desired effect. Just have a penalty for the fucking crime and take care of it, and then she can go back and be racist all by herself.
Well, I don't know how true that is. Robert Chalk in your chat said she booked the room for 2 and then showed up with extra people and a dog. So it seems if that's true, then she, didn't hold up.
I don't think that's part. I have a feeling that's just a joke.
Well, even if she
hope so.
the reason that's given in there, doesn't she specifically say one word Asian?
Yeah, one word Asian. Yeah, so that's it.
It wasn't dog or extra people. It was.
Yeah, it wasn't like you violated the terms of your lease or rental agreement or something. It's just that you're Asian and I don't like you.
Oh, well, I mean, she could have said that as well, but I'm saying, like, well, there's some other issue. Because a lot of these stories, I noticed that when you go and look into them, the, quote, victim is usually really antagonistic and kind of shitty. And she kind of sounds like she's very willing to be offended. And plus, it's California, so, Yeah,
and that does happen too, but, I mean...
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying it seems a little bit overboard to slap her with a $5,000 fine and then moralize from the bench over, basically what amounts to fucking Asians.
I like what Punisher set up here. Is she going to be smart enough to study, or smart enough for Asian studies? It doesn't sound like it.
Let's see. So now, with that out of the way, and nothing, I'll check CNN one more time to see if something crazy has broken in the last 15 minutes. Nope, same old stuff.
It hasn't. It's just going to be Trump.
You never know. Sometimes I have clicked back, and some horrible thing has happened in the meantime. So it's not impossible.
You click back and find out that Trump prefers artificial sweetener.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trump likes Splenda, the communist.
I
let's
just like
see.
that we're rooting for bad news.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I'm not rooting for bad news. I'm just making sure that, because
Oh.
because ever since that one night where like we broke the news that the airstrike hit Syria, like when it happened, and that turned into like, I don't necessarily want to recreate that for the sake of like, oh, I hope something horrible happens. But if we can act as a public service,
That was our CNN Gulf War moment.
that really was. Yeah, that was
awesome.
that was really,
Not-
really interesting.
Not that we were bombing people was awesome. That was just awesome the way that worked out.
Yeah.
Should we head on over to MSS News?
That's what I was thinking. So everybody in the chat, if you have news stories you would like us to take a look at, please send them to us via Twitter using the hashtag MSS News, and we will take a look. And I have to say, staff reporter Colleen Bernier has changed her avatar
Oh, I see that.
to a hat with a press pass in the band. So she's
Staff reporter.
staff reporter Colleen Bernier. She's really taking this seriously, and I appreciate that. But
Yeah,
before
I
we
do
get to her story, I want to get this one here at the top by Reject. Reject has sent us a story. West Des Moines bomb threat suspect found hiding in dumpster. Maybe he was freegan with vegan.
Yeah, maybe it was Vegan Gains looking for something to eat.
Yeah. A man is in custody after police say he made bomb threats against West Valley Mall, Gold's Gym, and a Walgreens store in West Des Moines. Oh, he's a busy boy.
Gold's Gym. It's got to be him.
Oh, man. It started it started with a 911 call about 7:30 Tuesday night. Police say the man claimed he was barricaded inside the mall. Turns out he wasn't. Quote, we went ahead and had his phone pinged. Turns out he wasn't at the mall. He was near Gold's Gym. Sergeant Tony Giampolo with the West Des Moines Police tells WHO Channel 13. Then he started talking about being at a Walgreens, so our officers went to the Walgreens on 22nd and located the suspect. They found him hiding in a dumpster. Giampolo says no explosives were found. According to Polk County jail records, 26-year-old Quentin Duran Nelson of Des Moines faced numerous charges, including threat of terrorism, harassment, interference with official acts, false report of explosives, and threat of explosive device. And he looks like a real charmer in his mugshot. Okay. Dumpster diving for explosives. Yay.
Yay.
Let's see. And then, so the first story from staff reporter Colleen Bernier is a Florida story. Is it a Florida man story? Well, it's a Florida man and woman story.
Yes, the headline there. Holy
Dear
fuck.
God. Okay. Newlyweds accused of kidnapping, raping woman, went shopping afterwards naked.
What?
Okay. Most couples come to South Florida on their honeymoon to enjoy the sun, the fun, the food, and often the nightlife. But police say a Georgia couple celebration here turned a bit too debaucherous. That seems to be putting it kind of lightly given the circumstances, and landed them in jail on felony charges. Police and witnesses say that Rashida Hurley, 32, and her new husband, Timothy Lowe, 37, beat and kidnapped a woman, drove her to a motel, and forced sex on her, then got naked the next day inside a convenience store and grabbed a couple of sodas without paying. Police found the couple outside a block away, still holding the sodas and still naked. They placed blankets around them, took them in for questioning, and charged them with petite theft. That must be the Florida way of saying petty theft. Then, with the help of video surveillance, investigators quickly linked the couple to the earlier rape and said the woman identified the couple through a photo lineup. They were arrested and charged with kidnapping, robbery, and sexual battery and booked into the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center, where they were denied bond on the kidnapping charges. And then they go into details of the kidnapping. I don't know if do we care?
No.
Yeah, and they also are a couple of real winners. Look at that. Do you see the mugshot of the guy? Look at his left eye, or his right eye, I guess I should say. That is one droopy eye.
Am I just not seeing
that's...
this? Where am I looking? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
You're talking.
So if you go on Twitter,
okay.
and you just look up the hashtag MSS News, all one word, and just click latest.
I just put it in chat.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, either way, if she wants to follow along, she can do that too.
Yep.
Okay.
This guy's face looked like it melted halfway off his side, like he had a stroke or something.
It does. He kind of has that sloth eye where one's lower than the other.
Hi, you guys!
And his woman has a fucking, what is Somebody's hit her in the nose recently.
I don't know.
Oh, Lord.
Let's see.
I'm so sorry I clicked.
Yeah. I'm usually sorry I click on some of these stories, but at the same time, they are entertaining from time to time. Let's see. I'll refresh here because I know some people have sent us some stuff. Okay, so the next one that catches my eye, another Florida man from staff reporter Colleen Bernier. Florida man angry over response time kills AAA contract worker. Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
Okay. Well, here we go. A man in Miami faces second-degree murder charges after police say he fatally shot a AAA contract worker over the amount of time he waited to get assistance. Jesus Esquivel, 63, initially threatened a 24-hour roadside AAA technician when he called him to fix a car battery at his home. The technician then requested AAA dispatch to remove him from Esquivel's service call, and an employee of the company contracted by AAA came to assist him instead. Once the employee arrived, police said Esquivel confronted him and shot him multiple times. Police said the victim died at the scene. Good Lord.
Guys, I've started throwing the links to these in the side chat or in the chat there for you.
Yeah, and there's not much. There's a video attached to the story, but that's the story they print. That's nuts. Good Lord.
I'm like, you're mad because you had to wait?
And so you kill a guy. Yeah, that's...
This is, I hate to like be an asshole about it, but this is like my parents' generation, and as entitled as millennials are, there are some baby boomers that are fucking assholes. They want what they want when they want it now. It's like you are almost 70 years old. You should know by now you have to wait for things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. This seems to be like a trend. Like there's like a gap. You know, there's the baby boomers when they have their kids, and then their kids are the millennials, and we're just like, oh, just gas them all, you know. And then there's the next generation, which is more conservative than my grandparents' generation, which is really weird to live in a house with a teenager who thinks that you're too hip, I guess. Like, she's such a square. I love my daughter as she is. She's like totally conservative, super traditionalist. I'm like, how are you mine? What happened here?
It's this newest generation. They're supposedly like the most conservative in forever. They
really are.
I can't explain how it's happening, but because they're definitely not getting it from schools. They're not getting it from mainstream media. That's for sure. But yeah, they're coming out like Archie Bunker and shit.
Well, I think it might be the backlash from the overindulgence to the extreme left and just 8 years of Obama.
Yeah.
Because I mean, while we hear the loudest voices from the extreme sides, their numbers are getting smaller, and as they get smaller, they get backed into a corner, and they get more radical about stuff as they try to find a way to justify their perspectives on life and everything else. So it just might be sort of teenage rebellion, sort of counteracting some of the craziness the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but how funny is it that teenage rebellion is now being conservative?
I hate, it's just human nature. Whatever's the mainstream, you got to rebel by doing the opposite, I suppose.
Well, for all those people who made fun of Paul Joseph Watson for saying conservative is the new punk rock, I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah.
I know, and that's depressing that he's right.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that the most, I think, because he's so obnoxious, and I hate him so much. But I'm like, oh, I think he's correct in that. And you know what's weird?
He's right on that.
Teenagers love Tucker Carlson. Like,
it's the bow tie.
My daughter watches. It's not the bow tie. Like, he's totally bringing back American prep fashion all by himself. I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
But she never misses a show. I'm in a group DM with Ian Miles Chong, but I didn't know that he was on the show at the moment while he was in there, and I was actually streaming with Jeff, and my daughter's like waving her arms frantically, like about to have a seizure or something. And I'm like, what? And she's showing me on her phone because she's downloaded the Fox app. And she's like tapping, look, 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 look. I'm like, what am I looking at? Oh, it's Ian. Oh my God, Ian's on Tucker. Holy shit, you know? Like, it's, for them, it's, I think just the coalescing of all these horrible ideas kind of filling this, I want to say it's almost like water balloons in a paper bag. You know, it'll hold for a while, but eventually it's all going to fall out the bottom. And I think we're reaching that point of it just can't take it anymore. And they've caught on to stuff. They're very politically savvy for teenagers. I've never seen teenagers this interested in politics. They are aware of what is up. She's 16 years old, and she's like, this is how I want to establish my retirement plan. I think I'm going to go with a Roth IRA. And I'm like, who are you?
Good for her.
What's happening here? Like, she has no interest in, like, dating. She's like, no, I'm going to finish my education. And, you know what, I think I'm going to get a certificate. And then I will, instead of going into debt to attend college, what I'll do is I'll get my certificate, and then I will use that money to pay my way through college. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. I mean, that was what I was really hoping for. And she, because she wants to go into petroleum engineering, which is a thing I don't understand. But she wants to go in and become an electrician and then get a certificate to do plumbing and then pursue this. And I'm just like, holy crap.
Wow. Let's see. So I promised before the stream started that I'd read Mashisu's article that she sent. So
after you do that, I have one from Scott I want to get into.
Okay. So real quick, and this is kind of funny. It's Fox News reporting on CNN. So CNN anchor mistakes Star Spangled Banner for French national anthem.
The fuck?
CNN anchor Poppy Harlow mistook the Star Spangled Banner for the French national anthem while covering President Trump's arrival in the country Thursday. Trump is in France to meet with President Emmanuel Macron before celebrating Bastille Day together. Trump and Macron shook hands during the arrival, and a band played the United States national anthem. But despite Harlow's pedigreed education at Minneapolis's exclusive Blake School and the prestigious Columbia University, she seemed to not realize it was her own country's national anthem. Harlow voiced over the event, quote, "Let's just listen in to the French national anthem for a moment." It was moments before Harlow noticed her mistake. Whispers could be heard in the background on the CNN set, and Harlow corrected the error. Quote, the U.S. American national anthem, I should say, Harlow said, with a chuckle. Let's listen. The gaffe comes as the news organization has been under siege by the Trump administration, with the president repeatedly characterizing them as fake news.
She doesn't even know the fucking Star Spangled Banner?
Apparently not.
And this was CNN?
This was CNN.
Of course.
This is CNN.
This is CNN.
All right, so what story did you want to look at?
This was one Scotch has been trying to get our attention on stories for days, and for some reason they are not showing up, even though I have seen the hashtag put in there, that they're not showing up in the hashtag, because he tagged us one day in a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And that was one of the days that I just got inundated with tweets and I couldn't find it. But in this one, it's revised Senate healthcare bill still lacks the votes to pass. Comes from the Washington Post here, and of course from Scotch. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell released a new proposal to overhaul the Affordable Care Act on Thursday after spending 3 weeks reworking
3 weeks.
Same thing. Reworking it in order to win over lawmakers on the right and in the center. But within hours, it was clear the Senate leaders still didn't have the votes to fulfill their long-standing quest to replace former President Barack Obama's 2010 healthcare law. So same thing. 8 years promising we have something to replace this. And even after revising it again in the Senate, still not enough votes. So
yeah.
Jesus Christ. And Scotch, I don't know why your stuff isn't showing up. If you want to tag me or DM me directly those, I will try to make sure we look at them.
Oh, yeah. Lord, help us all.
And I remember seeing a story yesterday. I think I forgot to read it, where the budget office or the accounting office or whatever contradicted Trump when he said that the healthcare initiative would help balance the budget.
Yeah.
And it won't. in any way, shape, or form the way it's written right now. So it's like, I don't think that's going anywhere, or at least not in any shape or form that we know it now. I think the healthcare repeal thing might be dead at this stage of the game. And they'll blame it on the Trump emails to say, oh, we were distracted by the scandal. You know, we couldn't get anything done.
I'm going to post a link for this. Kid Rock is apparently running for Senate.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
Sweet. Good for him. Real quick,
And you know
Base
the
Mama,
fucked up thing? I would vote for him, too.
Base Mama just listed in the chat the ages of her children. Am I the only one who thinks that looks like winning lotto numbers?
Well, I won, so give it a shot. See how it works.
Is he for real running?
Yeah, he's really running.
So.
I'm like, that is amazing. I would totally vote for him. I would.
Because I'd imagine he'd be running in my state, and I would totally vote for him.
And he calls himself Pimp of the Nation.
That's right.
Let's see. By the way, chat, if you happen to want a custom ad done for you, if you donate $10 or more to the little dollar button at the bottom of the chat, I will cook up something ridiculous advertisement for you, depending on if you want something specific or just want me to pick something at random, because that's always fun too. Otherwise, do we want to get into YouTube time? Because we've hit the usual call time for news.
I just want to let everybody know, ever since my 35th birthday, I have been running for president. So you can vote for me.
What's your campaign slogan?
I will leave you the fuck alone.
Sounds very libertarian.
It is. That's my campaign motto right there. I will leave you the fuck alone.
You should be Kid Rock's running mate for president.
No,
yeah,
he would be my running mate, motherfucker.
Yeah, Kid Rock and Ranting Monkey.
God, I hope his campaign song is Ba Ba Ba.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So happy.
No,
Uzi,
Cowboy.
yeah.
It's got to be Cowboy.
Uzi Q asks, do you do non-custom ads for free, Scribelight? If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yep.
So YouTube time. This is where we talk about Base Mama. This is where we talk about projects we've either completed or are working on, or after that we move on to any YouTube drama that might be going on. So, being the guest tonight, have you done any videos recently you'd like to talk about?
You just want to fight. You want to fight? Let's throw down, Scribe. Bernie can't win in 2020, and Trump is not colluding with Russia, and I'm tired of this fucking narrative. No, I will tell you. We will fight. We will have this out.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, Donald Trump Jr. was alerted to the presence of a Russian, not really ambassador, not really anybody. She was a lawyer, and it was Natalia, something unpronounceable, who he's alerted to her presence in the U.S. by this guy Goldstone, who worked with the Trumps on both the campaign and also with the Miss Universe pageant, and alerted him to a friend named Anine, who had heard that this chick was potentially had Kremlin ties and planned to be in the U.S. and blah, 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 and she wanted to meet with Trump Jr. to show her, or to show Russia's support of Mr. Trump or whatever. So it sounds very damning until you look into who this chick is. She came into the U.S. on an extraordinary circumstance visa waiver. She was allowed to go around and be on the congressional floor, by the way. She had full access to not only the Trumps, but to pretty much anybody else. And this is at the same time that Hillary Clinton's campaign is going around the way to talk to people in the Ukraine about Russia. And this chick is over here on a visa waiver for extraordinary circumstances given to her by Loretta Lynch, who was the head of the DOJ at the time. So it looks like if this was facilitated or it looks like this was facilitated by Obama's administration, and it seems really like sketchy as hell that nobody noticed that. Why is she here? How did she get here? Who is she? It makes no sense. She's basically a nobody who has no connection to anybody, or at least has plausible deniability. So I'm not totally I don't trust her. Let's put it like that. Bitches, no bitches. I don't trust her. But anyway, so she was there, and she met with Donald Trump Jr., and he published all of the emails. That was the thing that you guys were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So emails turned out to be nothing. The meeting turned out to be nothing because they were both trying to get information about the other people's opponents, and it just basically didn't pan out at all. It was funny because I'm like, who is this chick? Like, nobody's heard of her. Boom, here she is, out of nowhere. And it looks like it was a setup. It looks like it was just a setup to try to tie Trump to Russia by any means necessary, because of what was in the emails. Remember that Goldstone?
Mm-hmm.
I keep wanting to say Coldstone.
Coldstone. They'll sing the song. Yeah.
Goldstone said, "Oh, hey, you know, I thought I would take it to you, but you know, if you're not interested, I can take it to your father," which it seems like that's maybe what they were trying to do, is try to arrange it so that it would have some direct tie to Trump, but it really didn't. So it turned into nothing. It was like, well, there you go.
And that was your video
today?
today?
To actually slap him. Yes, but you wanted to fight with me.
I wanted.
So
what?
let's have your fight.
I didn't want to have a fight with you. What are you talking about?
You disagreed vehemently with this.
I disagree vehemently. What?
You said that it was a conspiracy theory. I said
it is a conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory.
It is a theory of a conspiracy on behalf of Obama towards trying to take down Trump. It is a conspiracy theory in the literal sense. I'm not dismissing it as it's untrue necessarily, because it is suspicious. Oh, thank you, Cryptic. After a long day, it's good to listen to reasonable people to end the day. Well,
not right now.
Reasonable?
I'm sorry.
I feel sorry for your definition of reasonable, but thank you, Cryptic. Did you have a particular product or anything you'd like me to do an ad for? Let me know. I'll watch the chat. No, I wasn't fighting with you. I was just saying it is a theory of a conspiracy, is it not?
Okay, it's true.
Okay.
I wouldn't be so prone to believe it if it wasn't for the involvement of Loretta Lynch directly signing off on this chick's waiver. That's why I was like,
yeah.
Oh, what now?
Well, it is interesting that a Russian national that we are being told now had ties to the Kremlin and all this stuff was allowed into the country without seemingly any oversight, that we hadn't heard about this until yesterday or the day before. Because if the Obama administration and everybody else had the information, and especially Congress had information of any Russian nationals that had been in the country recently and met with anybody, you would have thought we would have heard about this beforehand, but we haven't, which is really kind of weird if you think about it.
Well, in their rush to connect Trump to Russia, you would think that just her being in the same room with him and them having any evidence, they would have thrown that out there. So it just turns into one of these, we have Trump we've caught him, and then it's nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit. It's very disappointing. I know it's bad, but I'm kind of, you hear this narrative for so long that you're like, maybe this time, maybe this time, maybe this time.
Well, the thing I loved the other day, somebody, I forget who it was, sent me a video or sent me the link to a Vox video that was put out yesterday, I think, by Ezra Klein from, I believe he's from MSNBC. And he does this sort of spoken word thing, telling the news about the whole email thing and how important it is. And I said yesterday, he might as well be standing in front of a corkboard with red string, connecting all the dots together, because it was just that hyperbolic and sort of overblown. And at one point he says, he reads off the emails where Trump says, "This is great, and I'm looking forward to meeting her," or something. And then he says, "So what do we know? So what have we learned? We've learned that Trump and Kushner and Manafort were all in this meeting at once, meeting with a Russian agent." And I'm like, you haven't learned anything. You're asserting quite a bit, though. And I'm holding on to that video because I want to use it as a time capsule for a month from now when we find out it's all BS. And I want to be able to smash that together with reporting coming up at how ridiculous or how wasted time the whole thing was. Let's see what else.
Real quick, Cryptic
Yes.
said no, he didn't have a topic in mind.
Oh, okay.
But he did repeatedly mention his poor timing, so I think you should do a timepiece or a watch or a clock or something.
A watch or a clock? A cryptic watch. That actually should.
I
be
would
good.
buy a cryptic watch.
You buy a cryptic watch. Okay, I will think on that when we get to the deep topic thing. I'll work on that. Monkey, did you work on anything today?
I did. I finally made my first how-to video for
Oh,
YouTube.
that's right. That's right. You did.
I've been promising to do this for a long time, and I recently helped somebody set up their first live stream the same way you helped me so many months ago.
Yay!
And I did give you credit in there.
I saw that. I appreciate it.
But yeah, it's something I'm going to start doing. I'm going to do a few more of these where it's more about making the videos. But this is probably one of the things I get asked about most, because if you go looking up how to do this on YouTube, almost everybody tells you have to use OBS, and you just don't.
Right.
So yeah, I just made a quick tutorial on how to do it the easy way.
Okay. Do you have anything upcoming? Oh, wait a sec. Thank you.
I have.
Oh, please don't. I enjoy y'all content. Are you sure? I don't mind making an ad for you, dude. But I mean, if you don't want me to, I won't. But okay, I'll hold on to the idea. If you change your mind, just let me know. I've already got a notion in mind. Anyway, you go ahead, Monkey.
I have a couple of other topics I want to go over. I know it's been done to death already, but I really, really want to take a crack at that parents talking to their kids about masturbation.
Oh yeah, that was so weird.
I have such a fun idea for that one. I don't want to spoil it here, but I'll tell you after the stream if you want to know. Okay. Because I think you'll appreciate it.
Well,
I really do.
If that's not a loaded promise, I don't know what is.
Here, I'll actually put it in our side chat while you're doing
it. Okay. So let's see. Today, I just before the stream, as I want to do, I published a video on It's actually kind of interesting, but because I found a video from this same guy about a month ago, and it was a actual eBay promotional video with him talking about their diversity department or whatever. And I had thought to do a video on that, but at the time there was a line in that video that I found really interesting because so this guy is the chief diversity officer of eBay. And at the time that he put out this video sort of promoting their diversity, whatever, and their initiative and all that, if I recall, he was one of the first one of these diversity officers, and I've done videos on a few at this point, who said in as explicit terms as I have come across yet, that they hire on the basis of the demographics of their audience. Right? We want our workforce to look like our customer base.
Okay.
And he used some language that was even a bit more explicit than that, not outright saying we're going to hire people who aren't white, or we're going to hire people who are more Asian or something on the basis of wherever they're planted. But it was really specific. Oh, geez, Adacrack, thank you to the hardest working streamers. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you want an ad? Let me know. I'll watch the chat. And so I had tweeted this guy. I'd stopped scripting the video, and I tweeted the guy asking him regarding the video, are you hiring on the basis of, or are you using hiring practices that make use of race as a factor or something like that? And I had hoped I would get a response from him that I could then put into the video. I never did, obviously. And the idea for the video kind of went away. Well, then, 2 or 3 days ago, I saw this guy's name pop up again on this video, and he's answering questions, I believe, being posed to him at a conference that's taking place in Europe about diversity and what he does and all this other stuff. And as I watched it, the first thing I noticed was within the first 30 seconds of answering the first question, he defines diversity in 2 different ways. And then by the middle of the video, when asked, like, what should a company do to start their own initiative, he says, well, one of the things you can do is put a survey out to your folks and ask them what they think diversity is. And I'm like, you're the chief diversity officer of eBay. Shouldn't you know what that is? Why can't you tell us? And if you were the chief diversity officer of company X, why would you ask the employees to tell you what the operative term in your job title means? It's so weird.
Yeah.
And like,
why? To me, it seems like a complete waste of money to even hire diversity officer.
It's not. And here's and speaking of conspiracy theories, here's my thinking on this as to why they have these things. And it's not, I don't think it's an uncommon theory. But if you have a diversity department and people who are specifically tasked with keeping the company diverse, whatever that means, this can be used as leverage against accusations of racial discrimination.
Yeah,
I mean, no, it's completely bass-ackwards logic about it, but that's, I think, the thinking behind it.
It's moronic waste of money.
It is.
It's
which is the bigger waste? Which is the bigger cost to a company? A lawsuit which accuses them of racial discrimination that they have no possible defense for, or paying a couple of people and setting up initiatives in the company bylines and such that would tend to suggest that they're making an active effort not to be racially discriminatory, thus diffusing any lawsuits that might come their way now or in the future.
Gotcha.
That's my theory. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's the only thing that makes sense, because every time I've done one of these videos regarding a corporate diversity department or something else, they always say something different. And this is the hallmark of like religious beliefs, where you ask somebody to explain how this works and they always give you a different answer. It's really interesting because they never can come up with the same answer twice.
I've just seen all of these big companies, even with that officer title, still getting sued for this shit. Yeah,
I don't know how effective a defense it is to have such a department, but that's my theory as to why they would waste their money doing it. So anyway, and then I have a video I've already scripted for and I'll be working on tomorrow. Our friends at Snarled have put out another Race in America that caught my eye.
Yay.
And this one is particularly weird. I won't go into too much detail because Snarled makes some interesting camera decisions, I'll say, in the course of this video. You'll see what I mean probably tomorrow if I can cut the audio in time. But yeah, after 2 videos of really long, involved, pretty heavy stuff, I thought I would have a little fun. So that's going to be either tomorrow or Saturday at the latest.
Did we get to Based Mama's other video, or did I just miss it?
I don't know.
Because she also did the Bernie Sanders video. Well, she's
Which
off.
other video? Oh.
The Bernie Sanders one. Did we actually talk about that?
Yeah, tell us about Bernie Sanders.
Because I'm with you on this. I am so with you on this.
Understand that Bernie Sanders did not declare himself to be running in 2020. Vox actually put out an article that said Bernie was going to run in 2020, or they put out the article that he was going to be the front runner for it or whatever. Yeah, I'll link it here. But I was like, no, don't do this. Like,
Bernie can't win.
He really, really, really can't. Like, it's just no. Okay, he wouldn't have won. He would not have won against Trump. I don't understand why everybody thinks that he would have. The issue he would have run into had he been nominated for the Democrat ticket would have been he would have had to now do the math and prove and flesh out those things that he asserted, like free health care for all, free college for all. You're gonna, who's gonna pay for that when you have a shrinking middle class and less people working to pay into the system? The money comes from somewhere. It doesn't come from nowhere. And he said, well, let's defund the military, except that our military supports, I think, 72 different countries. So if we stop funding our military, that drops the bottom out of all of them, which personally I think should be their issue anyway. But these are the effects that it's going to have to go slash and burn at the budget in order to pay for, health care and free university education, which isn't going to help you, because once you flood the market with university educated people, you devalue the university, you devalue those degrees. Your new fancy piece of paper has literally no purpose because everybody will have one just like it, In
many ways, we've already done that. With the big push to get everybody to college, we've already done that. Just a couple of years ago, it was all blamed on the housing market crash, and that's part of it, no doubt. But there were so many stories about people who coming out of college with 4-year degrees and the only job they could find was at Walmart. That's because you've given everybody these degrees. We've made college way too important.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I was telling Scribe is that it's starting to hit businesses where they're paying these, degree holders out the ass. They're basically useless. They don't know how to do anything. And you have, the applied science tech guys that are hands on the ground, technicians saying that's not going to work. You can't do that. And they're like, do you have a degree? The CAD machine says it will work. And they don't understand how stuff works because they only understand the theory. They don't have any kind of application. So they end up, they're overpaying these guys. So they're starting to cut bait with these guys, just knocking them out and looking more toward people who have hands-on experience and can actually be useful and do things. And so you've got these guys that are getting these like 6 or even 8-year engineering degrees that are being basically just cut off with no money, and they're up to their eyeballs in debt, and they don't have any savings and all this stuff because they wanted to get this degree that is now totally useless because everybody has one too.
Thank you, Cryptic. Bernie Sanders is a champagne socialist. His 3-mansion multi-millionaire ass who never lived under commie and socialist systems like some of us did. Oh, okay.
Well, this is the real numbers problem Bernie has, is most of the United States is not that far left. Most people aren't. That's why, even though the loudmouths in the election this last time are like, she's not going left enough. There's a reason for that, because you still have to get votes if you want to win. And we just don't have a socialist enough country for somebody like him. We don't. Most Democrats even would have voted against that shit. In fact, that's why he was so far behind in the polls before all of the bullshit about them cheating the election in the Democratic primary. Your hardcore Democrats are still not basic socialists. They're just not yet. Our country's not.
I don't think they ever will be. People who have to pay taxes and work for a living are never going to be socialists. Like, everybody's a socialist till they got to get a fucking job.
Yep.
Well, and, when you see, like, I think we're barely middle class, and I think we're taxed something like 53%. That's an amazing amount to be taxed. But it's like we're just, just a little bit over the lower tax bracket every single time. And we have a huge family. So we have 6 kids. That's a family of 8 living off of 43% of what my fiance earns. That's ridiculous. That's a horrible tax rate. But after you pay all of that stuff, that's what you end up with. But that's what it is. And the more you want to suck out of the system, the more people who are working and are kind of stuck in that middle class bracket, they're going to have to keep paying that. And we just can't afford it. That's a really good way to get a revolution, though, I'll tell you
that. The X-Fireball says to the 3 of us, my home country, Trinidad, has free healthcare and free college. We are taxed out the ass.
Yeah, that's what it takes to give that stuff. It's not free. It still has to be paid for.
Yeah, somebody still has to pay for it. It depends on how you want to structure it. But yeah, everybody wants the utopia. Everybody wants the utopian ideal. I can appreciate the thought, but there's fantasy, and then there's the pragmatic reality of it's been tried, it doesn't work, and somehow. And this is the thing that I consistently have never understood, and we've talked about this before. People bring up these very old notions, these very pie-in-the-sky notions, which are no different from what was proposed under Marx and under Stalin, and yet somehow they just have a blind spot to the fact that this experiment has been done over and over and over again, and it has never worked. Why? The definition of insanity. Thank you, Stacy. Is enough for an ad for a Let's Play channel? Well, I would need more information for a Let's Play channel. Given the generosity of the people that have come before you, I'm more than willing to extend to you a special consideration, but you'll have to give me some more bullet points. I don't want to give you a half-assed one if I'm going to give you one at all. But anyway, unless we want to talk more about how communism sucks.
Well, again, the reason it's always, you know, it was the people. It's never the system. So
Right. Yeah, the system's
and
perfect.
again,
The people are bad. Yeah.
I understand that thinking that it sounds so good on paper because it does sound good on paper.
Hmm.
It can't be fucking done. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's the problem with communism and socialism is that it depends on everybody to want to basically work because they like doing the work. But I know a lot of people that are garbage collectors or they, maintain the sewer systems. None of them work because they want to work. They work, they go to work because it pays.
Exactly. I've said that before. Communism relies on the best of people. Capitalism works because it relies on the worst of people. It relies on you doing things because you absolutely have to. And that's how humans evolved is invention is blah, blah, blah. Necessity is the mother of all invention.
Oh, absolutely.
So in communism, it requires everybody to be their absolute best and want to help. And that's just not how people are.
Well, capitalism relies on people to be people. It relies on human nature to look for the easiest and most effective way to get to a certain point. Communism relies on people to, want to give up their lives for somebody else every day, all the time, and not concern themselves with their own preservation. And it doesn't work. We have tried communism, like true communism in America. We did do it. And William Bradford wrote all about it. It didn't work, and they went back to the system where everybody has to farm their own damn land, and if you starve, then that's your problem. And that worked great. Everybody started farming and took care of themselves.
Yep.
So we are at about just 10 after 7. Do we want to go into the deep topic? With this time, Monkey says he has one. He has one pre-planned, not one that I have to come up with on the spot, but a pre-planned topic. So Monkey, take it away.
Lacey Green had her first debate today. It was supposed to be between Meghan Murphy and Blair White. Blair White couldn't show up, so it was just Lacey with Meghan. And they talked about a lot of stuff, and I had a lot of problems with it. But the one that just jumped out at me and pissed me right off, Lacey was talking about trans people, and she said, we can never know how they feel. And I may be misquoting that a little bit, but the gist of it is right there. And this is something that I've heard from SJWs on a variety of issues, whether it's Black people or trans people or women. We're told you just can't know how they feel. Well, we have this thing called empathy. And while I may never know your exact experience, I don't have to know your exact experience to be able to understand what you went through. And to me, it's part of this whole individualist society we have now, and where everybody is just so unique. Everybody's so unique. And the fact is, the human condition is not all that complicated. We're not all that different from one another, no matter what our experience is. There's only so many things we can go through, so many emotions we feel. And yeah, there may be some horrific tragedy that you went through that I can never understand. But for the most part, say somebody calling you names or somebody discriminating against you. For the record, when I lived in a Black neighborhood, the little Korean store we used to go to, they didn't watch the Black kids at all. They watched us white kids, and they were right to do so because we used to rob them blind. But they followed us around. They didn't follow Black kids around. They saw a white person come in the store, and they were right on your ass. So don't tell me I don't know what it's like to have that happen to me, because I've fucking been there. Just because I'm not Black doesn't mean I can't understand what a Black person feels when something shitty happens to them. And I really have a problem with this thought of, you don't know how I feel. Go fuck yourself. You're not that special.
Okay, on the counter side of things.
Sure.
So I remember, what was it? Well, I won't get specific because it's personal. I remember a time where a friend of mine was upset because they had, how specific do I want to get? They had been sexually assaulted, I'll say.
Okay.
And they were talking about how, this had happened at some time previous to this conversation. And I was talking to them about it, and they were talking about their anxiety and their depression as a result of the aftermath of this event. And I, having been dealing with my own anxiety and depression for several years to that point, I said something to the effect of like, you know, I know how you feel, you know. And they looked at me and got all angry, and they said, "What? You've been raped?" And I mean, it was an honest misunderstanding of what I had said in the moment. But I think, and I'm not saying this is necessarily healthy, I'm not saying this is necessarily right, but I think there are people who, if they have a legitimate grievance about something that is, I mean, it's almost like their pain is, I'm not trying to trivialize it, but it's like their own toy. And to say that their pain is somehow diluted by the fact that it's common or that someone else can know it or whatever diminishes to them the importance of what it means to them to have had that happen and how they're dealing with it. That's the only sort of pushback I'd give to the notion of if you say, I know how you feel is somehow, or empathy can accommodate something that is very personal. Does that make sense?
It does, but that's still something I have a problem with because, no, if you've never been raped, you don't know what it feels like to be raped. It doesn't mean that you can't empathize with. We've seen people who have been raped, and the tragedy they've gone through. People talk about it. Will you and I ever know what it's like to be vaginally raped? Absolutely not. Does that mean we can't empathize with what they're going through, with the anxiety they're feeling, fear they're feeling, shame they're feeling? Absolutely not, because we feel those things for other reasons. This idea that because something bad happened to you, it becomes the center point of your whole being, and nobody can ever touch that. You can't even question it at times. I will give you an example from my personal life.
Sure.
My aunt died in a car crash, and you and I may have talked about this before. My cousin went to Facebook and basically just berated anybody who tried to offer her sympathy. And one of the things that she said was, "You can't know what this feels like." And that pissed me the fuck off, because my cousin at the time was in her mid to late 20s. And I'm like, you're right. I don't know what it's like to lose my mom at 29. I was fucking 14, you cunt. Don't sit here and play that fucking card with me when I went through it at a much younger age. And yeah, I know that you just lost your mom. That's fucked up and it hurts. But don't go out there and make this, I am the only person who's ever loved or lost their mom. You can't know what it's like. Go fuck yourself. And me and her got into a big fight, and we don't actually speak anymore over it. Because that's what she wanted to do. Her pain was the most important thing ever, and it's hers, and nobody knows what it's like. No, that's not how humanity works. We are not that different. Just because you haven't had that exact experience does not mean you can't empathize with it. Because we do, all of those emotions that go into it, we experience in other ways. Fear, anger, anxiety, we all fear those or feel those things. Just because we didn't feel them from that one experience doesn't mean our experience is also invalidated.
Well, so I guess it depends on how you parse the word feel. I know how you feel. Yes, we can all experience anger. We can all experience emotion. But there's a difference between experiencing an emotion and having gone through an event. And to say, I know how you feel, can also be interpreted as saying, I share in your same, trauma or pain or whatever else. Again, it's semantics, but when you get into a situation where saying something like that means something, you're usually not talking to someone who's being rational because they're being emotional about whatever it is.
Well, you also have to realize that this was a conversation about just how transgenders feel in general.
Yes.
One, if you're a woman who feels like a man and you're telling me I don't know how you feel, you're just fucking wrong. Because either you don't actually feel like a man or you're saying I don't.
Yeah.
And again, back to the if you've been persecuted for anything, all of us have been in some way. Don't sit there and tell me that your way is worse than anyone else's. Now, when you get to a topic like rape and I know how you feel, yeah, that can be a little more case by case, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're saying, I know how you feel, you're not going, your experience doesn't mean anything. It's like, hey, we've been there. What can I do to help? I know how you feel is not, your feelings have no meaning, which is how it seems to be taken.
Right. And that's what I mean is that, well, I mean, and you said it yourself there, I think just a few minutes ago, is that if you have taken this experience, whatever it is, whether it's rape or going through transition or, whatever, you survived a plane crash, whatever it is, if you take this thing and you make it the thing that identifies you, you turn it into the torch that you carry to make yourself, well, maybe not special, but because, I mean, there are some people, it's like, if you survive a plane crash, there's such a thing as called a survivor's guilt.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly that's not something where, you're making yourself into a victim or something, but there is a certain amount of like, why did I live and nobody else did? Something like that can indeed completely change your life and perspective, and it'll never leave you. And it's not that you can sort of just say, oh, well, it happened and I'm done. You could, but if you don't, it's completely understandable. So to say that you can separate yourself from that and your personality at that point is tough. The same could be said for someone that comes to the realization, the honest epiphany that they do not feel to be the gender they were born as, or that whatever happened to them in some traumatic incident is not something that's going to go away, and now it's going to empower them and become something that is very important to them. I can't say that it's not important to them, but like you say, you could. I mean, if you say I know how you feel, that is like it's taken to mean you're partitioning off the specialness of their experience and lessening it somehow. Now, that's not what you're doing. That's what it sounds like. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that I understand. I see. I have empathy for why they would react that way.
Yes.
Before we get too much deep into this, I got to do this quick ad for Stacey Gardner. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay, let's get this out of the way. This broadcast is brought to you by Stacey Gardner's Let's Plays. From RPGs, fighting games, and platformings to go. Oh shit! I fucked it up. Okay, so I'm sorry, Stacey. I'm gonna start over because if you want to record this, I want to give you a quality thing, and I stumbled over it. I apologize. All right, one more time.
Stacey, I'd take two.
This broadcast is brought to you by Stacey Gardner's Let's Plays. From RPGs, fighting games, and platforms, go and live vicariously through Stacey's guiding commentaries, successes, and defeats. You're going to have to edit this yourself now. Before you put your money down, go look up Stacey Gardner.
Well done. So
take that bit, cut out my flub, put it together. Ta-da, ad.
Okay, Base Mama, you're quiet over there. What do you think about this topic? Are you with us?
It would help if I wasn't muted. No, well, I've been raped before, and I don't like. It's not something that I allow to define me. It's there's this notion, and I hate this. Like I'm gonna go on a tiny little ranty rant. It is when you propel people into this constant state of victimhood when they actually have experienced a rough time or tragedy. You lock them into constantly feeling that and constantly perpetuating this emotional roller coaster on a cyclical basis where you're just constantly rehashing their pain so they can live through it again and again and again, but never actually deal with it because then you would have to get over it, and they don't want to do that. And that's a lot of what I see from a lot of trans activists is that you don't know how I feel. You can never know how it feels to be trans. And like we were talking about before, if you can say that you will never understand what it feels like to be trans or never be able to empathize with that, you then invalidate your own experience as a trans person because you're saying that a male to female trans person won't ever know what it's like to actually be a woman, which invalidates their entire argument that trans women are real women or whatever. So it creates a cognitive dissonance where you can't agree with yourself, which then makes things even worse for you psychologically, because now you can't marry these two things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at with my point, where if a female to male trans is saying that I can't understand their experience, either they're saying I'm not a man or they're not really. That that that
Yeah.
that can't exist together. Now, if
And you start to run into that and then they get extremely defensive, you will notice,
yes,
because
yes.
they're meeting their doubts.
Yeah, that's where I am with it, and I understand what Scribe's saying. I really do, but I don't find that helpful for people. I really don't. This notion that everybody is so individual, it's a dumbass idea, especially in the realm of tragedy, because the things that help with tragedy are time and understanding, and you don't get that understanding very often by yourself. It
Yeah.
comes from
Sorry.
talking to people who've been through it.
Yeah. There's a line between wanting to be unique and isolating yourself, using it as some kind of shield against. It's kind of reverse psychology. It's like I have this trauma that has happened to me, or I've gone through this catastrophic epiphany. I mean, if I can imagine. I don't know what it's like, but I can imagine what it might be like to wake up one day and decide how I have been categorized by people and myself does not match with how I actually feel, and having a crisis of identity like that. Hey, I've written fiction most of my life. I've imagined the lives and minds of people who have never existed. I put myself into characters that are nothing like me. I can imagine quite a bit, like Han Solo says.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our commonalities as human beings. I mean, my experience is never going to be like monkeys, and monkeys is never going to be like based mamas, and so on and so on and so on. This is diversity, but at the same time, we are all unified by the fact that I know what having a bad day is like, And even if somebody comes up to me and says, I've had the worst day of my life, and they describe to me a chain of events that I have never experienced and compared to my life would be utter catastrophe. If that's their worst day, that's their worst day. Even if it's something that doesn't sound like it's bad to me. If that's their worst day, hey, if I've gone through a hurricane and they stubbed their toe, but that's their worst day, I might think it's trivial, but I can empathize with their situation at least and not condescend to them for it. And
see, that's where you and I disagree, because to me, a big part of the problem with our society today is that so many of the things that I see people bitch about is just stubbing their toe.
Oh no, I didn't mean that literally. I'm just talking about
I know.
Proportion is all I meant.
I was using the metaphor. I was still using it.
All right.
For instance, on the stream with Lacey today, somebody in Super Chat actually asked about mansplaining, and they discussed it. And Megan Murphy is actually one of those people who thinks manspreading is a big problem.
Oh my God.
Now, if you think manspreading is a problem, you don't know what a fucking problem is, and you need to shut your fucking mouth.
This is true.
Because you are a whiny bitch.
And agreed. I will. Oh Jesus, try that shit. I'm gonna stab you in the eye with my fucking stiletto. Don't even talk to me about fucking manspreading. It is almost a biological necessity. I'm sorry, if my boobs were between my legs, you bet I'd be spreading all over the place. And look at women on public transportation. Holy crap, they have their shit everywhere. They lay across 2 or 3 chairs. They won't get up. They're rude. I'm like, no, okay? You don't get to build a wall around you of your crap and then complain because a guy is like sitting with his legs apart because he has testicles.
Well, the issue there is, if somebody's bitching about that, I have no problem telling them you don't really have a problem. You have an inconvenience, and fuck you for that. Now,
it's not even an inconvenience. How is it inconveniencing anybody? Like, it's not like he's taking up 4 seats to do it. What? No, I hate these women so much. I hate them.
Fair enough.
Well, let me back off the stub toe thing. Let's put it this way. Like, I lived through a plane crash, but then a guy next to me, his mother died, and it's the worst day of his life. And in comparison to my experience, obviously, I saw more death and destruction in one day than this guy's seen since he's had a long life with his mother. But I'm not going to necessarily dismiss his pain, because
sure.
that's what I mean by proportion, not like the stub toe thing. Literally.
No, and I get that, but it does go to the ridiculous notions like man spreading.
Yes.
If in your example right there, you don't want to tell the guy, hey, suck it up, your mom died, no big deal.
Right. Exactly.
But if he's still bitching about it 6 years later,
okay.
And no, I know people like that. I know people who's every fucking year their parents have been dead for, let's say, 10 years. Like, motherfucker, I'm moving on 30 years. Suck my balls. You can get over it. And when I say that, it's not to say, hey, it doesn't matter that your mom died. It means it's time to get on with your fucking life. There are real things. There are people out there with real problems. This is one of the things, like when I see people like Vegan Gains bitching because people eat cows. It's like, you do realize there's people who literally will eat whatever they can find because that's how the world is, and telling them that they shouldn't eat meat is fucking retarded. That you should get them anything they can. And we have this problem in our society that we are so fucking spoiled that everything is the most important thing to us, and that is driving me insane.
These are the wages of peacetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. I take a train to work every day. Women using the second seats to goddamn hold their bag is worse than spreading.
Yep.
It is. And what's worse is they won't even get up. Like, I used to ride the bus all the time to work, and it pissed me off so much to see these, like, bratty little bitches with their shit all over the place. And it's like, elderly lady is just standing there holding on to the pole for dear life while the bus moves back and forth, because this chick has no self-awareness and will not get up. I've yelled at chicks. I've told them, get up, grab your shit and stand up, because I'm rude like that. I don't care. But it just drives me crazy. You have one seat, take up the one seat. If you can't do that, then stand up and just get out of everybody else's way.
Terry Diamantis, thank you very much. My dad died 3 months ago, and I'm already over the worst of it. 6 years later is crazy. Well, my condolences, Terry. I mean, all the same.
My dad died 7 months ago, and I'll be honest, Dad was the last parent figure I had, and I'm still not over it.
Yeah,
but I don't talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where a song will come on, or a random thought will pass through, and someone that I've lost, either by death or by breakup or whatever, will come across, and for a moment I'll get a little bit nostalgic, and I might get a little, like, the teeniest bit emotional, depending on the circumstances. And that's fine. That means you're human. You're not dead inside. But at the same time, it's not something you're carrying around as a lead weight around your leg to complain to others like, I'm so sad because this happened. Or, get over it.
Was just letting YouTube songs play in playlists that were up. And That's My Job by Conway Twitty came on.
Okay.
And if you guys don't know that song, it's all about a guy singing about his dad, and at the end of the song, his dad dies. And I started bawling like a baby. I did, tears, snot bubbles, the whole thing. And then it was over and I was done. And that's okay. What I'm talking about is people who, I mean, if you know them on Facebook, you know them. These are people, every goddamn post is. Never mind.
Yeah, it's different. It's the difference between carrying a weight and leaning on a crutch. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, shouldering the weight of something horrible happening to you and moving forward is a lot different than leaning on something external from yourself to show everybody how you're injured. That is the difference. And some things never leave you. I mean, some breakups, some deaths, they'll never go away. The mark of someone who is worthy of respect over those kind of things are the people that pick up and keep moving in spite of those things and not let themselves be weighed down by it. Now, of course, everybody's different. There are circumstantial things that can change things a lot, but generally speaking, you pick yourself up and move on is worthy of a lot more respect than someone who's just constantly whining about the past. And don't get me wrong, I'm no saint on this. I have had my own. I've had my own moments. I think we all have. But like I say, the real question is, can you get past it, and can you learn to be a more productive and mature adult? That being said, we are now into the last half hour of the stream. Oh yes, go ahead.
Before we do that, several people have mentioned their personal losses in here, and I don't want to type just to one person. For all of you, I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. Thank you for sharing. Believe me, I've been there, and to finish up where we started, I know how you feel. I really do, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And with that, we have a wonderful guest with us tonight, and it is your time, guys.
Yeah. So it's chat time. Ask your questions. Be sure if you've asked questions previously in the stream and we didn't get to them, that's because we're all, self-absorbed. So by now, the time is for you to repost them and put plenty of little question marks on there because, as nothing for you here is proven, you need 17 question marks to prove it's a real question. And we'll get to those.
That's
now.
right.
And by all means, aim some questions at Based Mama because she's a guest and she's a very nice lady, I think. At least when she's not trying to fight me.
You're trying to stay on my good side.
Do you have a good side?
Oh, the first question comes from Lady Monkey. Based Mama, since you have a teenager and a wee one at the same age or same time, what age do you feel is the easiest?
It depends on the personality of the kid. Anybody who's had kids will tell you those babies are born with their own personality. My youngest loves AC/DC, and I mean loves it. You put on like Thunderstruck, and he's like, yes! And he's 7 months old. I hate AC/DC. I can't even tell you how much I hate AC/DC. It's so overplayed. That's why I don't really like him. But he loves it, and he loves cello music. I prefer violin. He is his own person, and they each are. So it really depends on their temperament. That I think is the most important thing. If you have a really chill kid, any age is actually a really easy age. If you have somebody who's, more high strung, then no age is going to be a good age. But I think a lot of it depends on, how they handle challenges, like new challenges, like, crawling and walking and things like that, just their temperament. Like my oldest was easier after about the age of 13, which is going to be the weirdest thing that anybody has ever heard. She is the easiest teenager in the world, and I'm totally spoiled to have her. But, I have my 4-year-old son who's like, swear to God, the second he hit 4, he started screaming for his life every second of the day.
Jesus.
It's like, what is happening here? You know what I mean? So it just depends on the kid, I think.
Let's see. Terry asks, what does the based part of Based Mama mean?
Oh, it means I don't give a shit what people think about me. I was actually gifted my name, by the way. One of my subscribers, Tommy Hill, gave me my name after my first video, which was about basically just saying Islam is not a religion of peace and you're an idiot if you think that. So I was Go Mama, and he said Go Mama is more like Based Mama. So
oh, nice.
It stuck.
Cool. Let's see. Irate Prostate. Vegan Gains got destroyed definitely by Athene Wins. Also a vegan. You notice that he hasn't trumpeted how he slaughtered Athene. He was destroyed by a donut. I don't keep up with Vegan Gains lore, so I don't know what's...
Oh, me neither. The only reason I knew about the whole trash eating thing was Lady Monkey told me.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. If I ever responded to Vegan Gains, I would do the entire video eating a steak.
Mashishu says, which was better, Blackula or Scream? Blackula Scream.
Blackula.
You can't beat the first one. Yeah, the first one is just kind of the base of it all. So yeah, Blackula by all means.
The X Fireball asks our thoughts on ContraPoints.
Why do I know what that means, but I'm blanking?
Trans YouTuber, really.
Oh, was that did Blair White do a stream with them?
Yes, Blair White did a stream with them. Yeah.
Thoughts on? I don't know.
I don't believe that they're nearly as trans as they are. I think most of that is show for YouTube.
You think it's a character more than it is
I have seen ContraPoints in person, believe me. There is no passing. Let's just leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's shady, but yes.
Let's see. Okay, Based Mama, who do you think is more disgraceful, Anita Sarkeesian or Anna Kasparian? This comes from the Peter Silac Hades 313.
Anita Sarkeesian, because she doesn't actually believe what she says. That's why she's so defensive of her positions. You can tell that she's doing what she's doing because it pays her.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
you insult women at the same time, declaring them to be strong and empowered, and also at the same time says they can't handle being called a bitch online. This is why I took a run at her. I was gonna slap that bitch silly. I hated her.
Anna Kasparian is a fucking idiot. She absolutely is, and if you watch, you can find that. But I do believe she believes what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Anita is entirely in it for the money, which I don't really have a problem with. But yeah, she's not.
Oh, yeah, straight up scam artist.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
see. Backscan 3030 says, as medical science improves, we may be able to prevent death entirely, but keeping everyone alive would lead to overpopulation. What do you think would be the best way to decide who lives? Well, the first question I would ask is, do they agree with me?
I think even if medical science could keep us alive longer, it's never going to prevent all death. What you would end up having to do is having a lottery system for new children. That would be the only smart way to do it, in my opinion.
Or
You can
like,
still fuck, but
or
you
Logan,
just-
or like Logan's Run carousel. Everybody dies. Everybody dies at 21 or whatever. Let's see. Did you all see Blair White's video that her boyfriend was also in? Asked Uzi Q. I did watch that. That was kind of funny.
I saw
I didn't see it.
I saw the thumbnail. I haven't watched
Yeah,
it.
so Blair White sits down with her boyfriend, and she shows him in chronological order pictures of when she was a boy, from like childhood up through like teenage years, and films his reaction to seeing his fiance as not what she is now, and it's pretty funny. It's really it's cute.
That's weird.
It's yeah. He if he's not just hamming it up for the camera, yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's got to be. I mean, he knows, but seeing it and knowing are two different things. Real quick, Ash Fowl asked me how I'm feeling. Guys, I'm still really beat up, but I got a lot of sleep, so I feel much more.
Yeah.
Awake.
We're glad for that. Bloodwing asks, Based Mama, do you know any midget hookers? I am asking for Ranting Monkey.
Female. Make sure you throw female in there, please.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Male midget.
You're getting all choosy now.
Yeah, I know.
No, that has always been part of my requirements.
Ranting Monkey, did you see Steve Shives' video with all his puppets? It was weird, says Terry D.
Sorry.
No, but I will definitely check that out. I love Steve Shives because he is so fucking cringy and moronic, and he has no self-awareness about it. It's funny as fuck to me.
Let's see what else. Okay, X Fireball says thoughts on utility subsidy. That's economics, isn't it? And I'm in no place to comment on economics.
Are you talking about for the general population?
Yeah.
Let me know how you mean that, and I'll be happy to answer.
For those on Social Security subsidized income, I am totally for it and think it's fine, particularly for the elderly, because they can't handle extreme weather conditions as well. I have no issue helping old people stay alive for a little while. I'm fine with that. There you go.
Yeah, if that's how they mean it, I have no problem helping even younger people. I mean, if it's wintertime and somebody can't afford their fucking heat bill, yeah, I'm happy with my money our tax money being spent to make sure they don't freeze to death.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, X Fireball says the general population.
Yeah. So yeah, the same answer.
No, not for everybody.
Well, yeah, the people that need it.
Yeah, exactly. The people who need it, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, those of us that can pay for it should pay for it, and those of us that need it but can't, and I mean can't, shouldn't have to suffer the effects of, not being able to drink water or be heated in the winter. That just, it's one of those things that just sort of, I think in a civilized society kind of goes without saying, but that's just me. At the risk of sounding socialist in that regard, but whatever.
Well,
Well,
I'm super hyper anti-socialist, but I would absolutely like be fine with my tax dollars going to, keep families warm in the
Right.
winter. I have no issue there.
I'm pretty much a classical libertarian, and
Mhm.
I don't want the government doing much at all. But I do believe in a safety net.
Yeah.
Utility subsidies, food subsidies, housing subsidies. But it's a safety net, not
Yeah.
a safety hammock.
Yeah.
You eventually have to get your ass out of it. Now,
Yeah.
the one thing I will put out there is, like Base Mama said, with old people, I'm not saying if old people can't afford their utilities, I'm happy helping them out with that.
Yeah.
Because they're not going back to work and they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, and any system, no matter how well-intentioned or well-structured, there's always going to be room for abuse. It's just something you have to accept. It's nothing you have to tolerate, but it does happen.
Right.
Punisher asks, the classic interview question is, who would you go gay for?
I'm
I wouldn't go-
bisexual, so
I was about to say, I think Base Mama's got that covered.
I wouldn't go gay
everybody-
for anyone. But I would cuddle with Pat. I would definitely fucking cuddle with Pat.
Oh,
who wouldn't cuddle with Pat? You know who has
I
a
know,
great
right?
snuggle game, like a surprisingly good cuddle game? Wizard of Oz. I had to crash in his hotel room because fucking failure fell asleep on the couch at Bunty's house and he had the room key, whatever. So I had to go crash with them. That dude has it down to a science. I slept so good. It was the only time I slept the entire time I was there. It was spectacular. You guys should try it.
I, as a big man myself, I would need a big dude to hug on me to feel like I was being cuddled.
Who would I go gay for? Dr. No era Sean Connery.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, if I had to be forced to, but at the same time, I'd even go for Marco Ramius, Hunt for Red October, Sean Connery. So whatever.
Now you sound like Lady Monkey.
It's all about that spiky wig. I tell you what.
Rotten Corpse asked me, Wolverines or State? Go blue.
Oh Jesus. Let's see.
No, a Spartans fan, are you?
Question, guys. Questions.
Fuck the Spartans.
My dad's an MSU alum.
This is Sparta.
Well, living here, I mean, several of my cousins graduated from State, and we just don't talk football at family gatherings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want everyone to live through the experience. Yeah.
Well, because I'm from Virginia, so you have like the two factions are UVA and Virginia Tech. And so like everybody just agrees not to talk to each other or call each other when they're playing because it will just be a fight.
What part of Virginia are you from? Have we discussed this before?
Yeah, I'm from like Virginia Tech. My parents they both worked for the university system in Virginia.
Yeah, where'd you live there?
Blacksburg, Virginia Tech.
What's that?
Virginia Tech. In
What
Blacksburg.
city? Oh, okay.
Blacksburg. I'm telling you. I am a Tech fan.
I didn't heir you the first time. Sorry.
I'm like, it's right there.
The Nell Rapius asks, any updates about the Kilroy project, Base Mama?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that thing exploded. Okay, after VidCon, because we saw how slanted the panels were, like first of all, everything was politicized all to hell. And most of the panels didn't even have guys on them, except for the Twitch gaming panel, which I have said so many times was absolutely the best panel. The best panel. It was actually informative. They did talk about channel growth, handling chat, all contributions, how to balance the two. Get two monitors, that kind of thing. They were actually useful. Everything else was garbage. But it was all very left-leaning. We're talking about diversity and inclusion and marginalized people and all this shit the entire time. And there was never any point where they were actually addressing what the panel was about. And it was very irritating. I felt like I wasted my money, to even go. But we talked to a few people, not just, shitlords and stuff, about the slanted nature of the panels and the way that, multiple viewpoints weren't being addressed on things that affected more than one type of person. And we talked about like, okay, we would like to do a convention and actually have different viewpoints there. So we started up Kilroy, which is going to be focused on free speech and the hindrance of it, particularly in online media, because a lot of people who came to VidCon, like Sargon and Dave, and these are people from outside of the U.S., so they're in a weird place where you can just say whatever the hell you want. Like, I embarrassed Dave in the grocery store. I yelled out, "I like being white." And nobody turned around. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit out here. Nobody cares. If you're not in their business, they don't care what you're doing. So he was like, "Oh my God, be quiet." I'm like, nobody gives a shit. But he was just kind of amazed at the way that people can have really divergent political opinions and everybody gets along. And it's just so weird because for him, his entire country is fully polarized.
Mm-hmm.
And, people won't even talk to you if you're, slightly conservative. I'm like, no, nobody here cares. So we talked about it, and this had been in the works. There's this guy on Twitter, Kevin Schooler, it's at K Schooler. He had been talking about it for about a year. Dave and I had been talking about it for about a year, and we were trying to make it work, and we just couldn't get the interest. Like, nobody cared. And then once we went to VidCon and we saw how slanted things were, how there was only one perspective that was going to be supported here, and especially after Hank Green took Anita's side and their relationship, they have a personal relationship and a business relationship. So you're talking about something that's potentially illegal. So it was very obvious that there were, this was slanted. So we decided, okay, fuck it, we're going to make our own, and we're going to do our best to keep it fair and balanced and actually talk about this stuff. So we have, different panels that focus on, it's all about free speech, but focusing on, the infringement online, on the various platforms that support free speech, like free speech and social media. We actually have both the guys from Gab want to come, and Bill Ottman from Minds. They want to come and talk about the crackdown on free speech and social media, especially like Twitter and Facebook, things like that. So I'm really excited about it, but it exploded. We thought we would maybe have 500 people, and we've had almost 2,000 right now sign up to go. And so we're like, ooh.
When's it going to be and where?
April 12th through the 14th in Phoenix.
Okay.
We had settled on a small hotel, but now we're looking at a bigger venue, and we have, event planners and convention planners pitching in. They're donating their time to help.
Wow.
Huge names, like crazy huge names are talking about coming. Like Dave Rubin wants to do a Rubin report from Kilroy. So I'm like,
cool.
Holy shit.
Nice.
Can I ask a question?
That's what I'm saying. It exploded. Yeah.
One of the problems with VidCon is that it is so slanted. Are you worried about this being slanted the other way?
We're going to try not to. We're also trying to crowdfund it, specifically so it avoids that kind of interference. That's one of the most important things, is to make sure, like, we're telling people, okay, if you want to do meetups, do them, off-site somewhere. And, that way, if you want to have your, like, at VidCon, it was a fucking disaster. I'm still at, like, a tiny channel. Nobody really knew who I was. Some people did. It was weird. But the bigger names like Greg and June and Blair and Jeff and Mems, like, people were, like, latching on and following them everywhere. Like, no shit to the bathroom, which I appreciate. They are big fans. They really, really want to meet them. But, I mean, let a dude take a shit in peace, like, for real. But, anyway.
Let's see.
So we wanted to keep that, keep the things separate and focus on free speech. This is not a shitlord con. I want to make that super clear.
Well, if there's a link to a website or some kind of planning site or something, tweet that to me and I'll put it in the description.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's see. We got a bunch of questions here before we only got about 7 minutes left. So let's see. Shady Grin asked, Scribelight, who do you think would be a good replacement for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? I think they should just continue on with Laura, the clone daughter, and just leave Hugh Jackman and enshrine that character as him forever. That's my personal. I know they're not going to do it, but that's what I would do. Because move on with a new character and not try to redo. Because Jackman just own that role. You can't replace it or remake it, kind of thing. It's kind of like when they try to make this Han Solo prequel. It's like, why are they even doing that? I don't know. What else do we have? We had some other things here. Donald the Repentless. Can you really never go home again? In the abstract? Sorry, what?
Said cryptic, you bastard.
What do you do? Oh, whoops. Go Broncos.
I
Uh-oh.
refuse to acknowledge that.
Well, I should have had you read it. Holy cow.
Thank you for the donation, but fuck you.
Yeah, when Monkey has the stream back on his channel, you can make him say things he doesn't want to say.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be really funny. Let's see. What else do we have? You guys aren't asking that many questions. Based Mama, Q-tip or cotton swab? Q-tip, I guess, depending on what we're talking about.
No.
Where are we using?
I don't know. Sean Lee has an addiction to asking completely meaningless and stupid questions, but I like.
love some of the meaningless questions.
Yeah, I
But
humor
my
these questions.
family are all Scottish and or Dutch on my mom's side, and so I grew up saying cotton swab.
Oh, I was
And
wondering where that was
thank
going. I was
you.
like, what?
Now we
And
always
schedule.
Schedule.
Are you pop or soda?
Soda.
Okay.
Okay, good.
I'm soda as well, yeah.
Up here, everybody says pop, and if I say soda, they look at you funny.
Oh.
Yeah, but in the South, everybody says Coke. So you'll say, like, I'll have a Coke.
Yes.
And they'll go, what kind? And they'll say root beer.
Yeah, when we lived in Virginia, I always called it whatever it was. If I wanted a Pepsi, I'd ask for a Pepsi. I never said soda.
Oh, that girl.
Pepsi.
Oh, God, Pepsi. It's fucking car battery juice. That girl wearing glasses.
Thank you.
That girl wearing glasses says, now Ranting Monkey, now you can talk about pubes and lice since SDA isn't here.
Well, I am actually fascinated by that.
Oh, God. Barf.
Why don't pubic lice eat head hair or live up there? And I understand it's some evolutionary things. Sanguine has talked about it, but to me, it's still like, well, why wouldn't they try it? It seems kind of racist to me.
Try it. You might like it.
Well, the migration would be too great, and they're actually a different type of lice.
Not necessarily. The migration wouldn't necessarily be that great. I mean, sometimes people go down on each other, so the head's right there. They can jump.
But they don't.
I think they should try it. That's all I'm saying.
Let's see. Somebody's asked, Dominus Kane, with the new Batman franchise coming out, who would you want to see play the Riddler? I'd want a really good actor to play the Riddler, so either Ben Foster or Joaquin Phoenix. That'd be my two picks.
I'm not a big Joaquin fan.
He can be a really intense actor, depending if he has a right director. Did you see The Master with
No.
before God, I suddenly forget his name, the guy that died. Well, it's basically a takeoff on the birth of Scientology, and Joaquin Phoenix does an amazing job. I really think he's sort of like a director's actor. If you get a really good director, you can make him do amazing stuff.
I would want to see Will Smith.
Will Smith as the Riddler?
I want to see Will Smith in everything. I love his acting. So
including you, huh?
No, not
Oh.
We don't. No.
Yeah, irate prostate. Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yes, thank you. I completely blanked.
Yeah, that'd be
that.
great.
Yes, but Frank Gorshin is the Riddler. But Frank Gorshin's. I believe he's departed now. So. Let's see. we're at the 2-minute warning, everybody. So if you have any last-minute questions,
Or one we missed,
or some we missed, the Nelemapus PS Base Mama, what is your next video going to be about?
I have no idea. If I see something that is either very funny to me or that annoys me to no end, I will make a video about it.
Okay.
Anyone else scratching after the lice talk?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Andy.
Sorry,
Schweiger.
Yeah, I have 6 kids. I don't do that. I don't react like that anymore. Somebody was asking about DeRay McKesson getting all butt hurt because there was a monkey
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
in the Planet of the Apes thing that was wearing basically his vest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't you guys ever get tired of comparing yourselves to apes?
Yeah, he's the one that did it.
Right.
The actual
Dude,
thing
they
is a
did it with
throwback.
Harambe and King Kong too. Like, holy shit!
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, Peter asked, what about his raps, Monkey? Getting jiggy with it. LOL. I actually like getting jiggy with it. Kiss my
Yeah.
ass.
Old school Will Smith is pretty good.
Especially if you go back to his first.
Parents just don't understand.
Don't understand, and
Yeah.
Nightmare on My Street, and
Nightmare on My Street, yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff. But I like getting jiggy with it, and a lot of his newer stuff too.
Scribelight Ranting Monkey, thoughts on soccer, the good football, curling. That's my response.
Is that you don't want my thoughts on soccer?
Well, I think that's where we're going to have to call it, guys, because by the time I finish the little outro, yep, we've hit the top of the hour. Chat, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thanks to everyone who donated. I hope you enjoyed your ads. Those of you that wanted them, I hope you enjoyed those. Mama, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you coming out for guest night for us.
Yes, thank you. You were an awesome guest.
Yes.
You guys are fun to talk to because you challenge me and then laugh at me and make fun of me, and I appreciate it.
Yes, what we do.
Nobody likes an ass kisser, so
rough camaraderie is what we're known for here.
Yes, yes.
Monkey, as always, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
Lord of Pain, Lord of Babies, appreciate you coming out. Lord of Puppies will hopefully be with us again on Saturday after a couple of days of rest. Otherwise, everyone, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow night we are on Monkey's channel.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock on Monkey's channel, Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And until then, we'll see you then. Have a good evening, guys.
Bye, guys.